All right. Um, you did a good job. And one thing though, you really got to follow the directions. If I say use something dark, use something dark. I actually had to go over your lines with a darker pencil. Well, not a pencil. What is that? Get out of the way, cat. It's one of these guys. Graphite something or other. Yeah. Oh, graphite crayon. So yeah, it's pretty much a pencil. But it's dark, and I had to go over your lines because I could not see them in the printout. I also had to reprint it very large. Your actual printout is way too small for anyone to actually see anything. If you can see the size of this sheet of paper, that was your printout there. So we're gonna talk about the digital side of things later. Just when you're saving it out, when you're scanning, use about 100 or 150 for the DPI or PPI, whichever one it says, and try to make it like 800 pixels wide. Alright, so let's begin. Oh, and another thing about doing the directions. Now, I'm not sure whether you know the difference or not, but I did say 2 rows. These are 2 columns. And there was a reason why. It had to do with the measuring. It's alright this time, don't worry about it. But the examples I'm going to show you are going to be in rows instead of columns. If you want to practice doing this again on your own, do it in columns this time. Alright, so some things that I noticed. You did look and make sure everything fit on the page. That's great. But you have a lot of space at the bottom and very little space at the top. That's part of it. You want to make sure things have an equal amount of headroom, and headroom is the space around the shapes to the edge of the page. So it gives it enough space so someone could look at it without getting their eyes getting pulled off the page. And that's what happens if it's too close to the edge. So, and you want things to line up in something like this. You want them to line up. So what I would actually do, and I'm going to move the camera a little bit here. What I would actually do is, and I'm right-handed, if I know that I need to line this up here, I would ghost over it. Not to actually make a mark, but I'd ghost over it. And then you can see, okay, that's too low. And you can see where you should start making it so it lines up. The same thing goes, up and down. These line up really well. This side, that side worked out really well. So, yeah. Now, here's your big problem. You're cropping. That's terrible. Make sure that it is oriented so it's not leaning. And if your drawing is leaning and you want to make sure that's hidden, you can crop out the edges. But for me, I want to see all 4 edges of your paper. So if you're taking a photo, make sure it's kind of zoomed back. If you have a decent camera phone, I would prefer you take a photo. For things like this, there's no detail. It's very simple. I see it better with a photo. In fact, I'm making these videos on my camera right now. But if you do the scan, scan it kind of in the middle of the flatbed, and then you can crop so that I can still see the edges of your page, so I can see how well you're using the space. So, and one last thing about using your space, your side with the shapes, you've got room in between them. Each shape reads well. The other side is fuck all confusing, and I'll tell you why in a second. First, though, I wanted to kind of illustrate what I meant about spacing out your page. So say I base this on the square. Alright, so basing this on the square, and this is something, I didn't want you to draw grids, but this is something, these lines are something you would do visually, up and down, side to side, to make sure the things on each side line up. And you see how your sphere is all the way down there, but your circle's up, and how your triangle's, nice and solid in there, but then your, the cone is kind of dropping off. This will really help you use your space on your page. The thing I'm using is acetate, and that's the clear thing that, I don't know, back in the day when I was a kid, they used the overhead with the projectors, and they would, use a marker on the acetate. But if you want to put something so you can kind of have guidelines at first and do a little grid like that, you can use tracing paper. But, after the first week, I would expect you to be able to line them up, visually. So, changing tapes.